Okay, now we're going to tackle part B. Part B, which you can see that is for 4 marks, so that means there's a little bit of work to be done for that. We're still working with the linear equation that we worked before, which is the g of x is equal to mx plus 1. But this time we want to identify the value of m, such as the g of x and f of x, they have only one solution. Now, if the m is positive, right, then that means that the g of x is going to grow upwards, and that's going to be essentially not possible solution because you end up with 2 points of intersection. So the only possibility for having 1 point of intersection whilst at the same time goes through 0, 1 would be to have a tangent, right, at some point P. Let's put the P here that we're trying to find. And obviously the m, we should expect that it's going to be some sort of negative m, so m smaller than 0. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any other option to kind of like, of getting 1 point of intersection between those two functions. Regardless, what is actually happening at point P, you end up that the f of x is equal to the g of x. So we're going to start with that principle, and then we're going to kind of like, work with it and see what can we get from that. So starting with the f of x to be equal to g of x, that means that the 2 times x plus 3 over 3 times x plus 2 is equal to mx plus 1. And then, although it looks a little bit weird, we're going to try to work with that. By principle, we never work with rational equations. We always try to find a way to kind of like, turn them into a straight line equation. So if you multiply both sides by 3x plus 2, then what we're going to end up here is going to be 2 times x plus 3 is equal to 3 times x plus 2 times by mx plus 1. Let's expand the brackets here, and let's do the same on the other side. 3x plus 2, and then we will plus 6, sorry. And then we want to multiply that by mx plus 1. So 2x plus 6 on the left-hand side, that's going to become 3mx squared, and then 3x times by 1 is going to become plus 3x, plus 6xm, or 6mx rather, and then plus a 6. Cross out the 6 from each side and bring everything to the left-hand side. That's going to become 3mx squared, and then 2x from the one side is going to cross out with the 3x from the other side, and you're going to be left just with an x. So plus x plus 6mx is equal to 0. And then we want to find the roots for that. I'm guessing the best possible scenario, because all terms have an x, would be to factor out the x. So x is going to give us 3mx plus 1 plus 6m is equal to 0. That means that x is equal to 0, or 3mx plus 1 plus 6m is equal to 0. We want to be able to solve for x, so x is going to become minus 6m plus 1 over 3m, and then setting up as that as equal to 0, right? And then from the question above, we know that the m cannot be equal to 0. That's here in between all this writing. So what we're going to end up with that is that the a over b is equal to 0, with b cannot be 0, then the only conclusion is that a is equal to 0. That's the logic here. So we have minus 6m plus 1 is equal to 0. That means 6m is equal to 1, or m is equal to 1/6. Although that's not correct, so I'm going to backtrack because I kept the 1 minus. So let's just fix that. Here it's supposed to be like a bracket, so this one is going to be like a bracket. So that means minus 6m yeah, it's going to be equal to 1, which means the m is going to be negative 1/6, and that's going to be the correct answer for the value of m. If we backtrack the logic of all of that, what that means for that value of m, right, that relationship here becomes equal to 0. The x is equal to 0 is not getting affected, and for that particular value, right, this bracket is equal to 0, which means the f of x is equal to g of x, if you backtrack with all the logic kind of like, all the way back. So pretty tricky question, this one, and you have to run with the basic idea, which is like one point of intersection. At that point of intersection, you're going to have f of x is equal to g of x. There could have been a few other ways to tackle that specific question, and that could be because you end up with a quadratic. So let me just isolate that part. So let's copy that part here from the point that you have the quadratic. So let's just copy that and put it somewhere underneath here. We could have done as an alternative method, so let's put it method B. We could have worked with a discriminant. So one solution, that would mean that the discriminant is equal to 0. And also what you need to be able to identify that this is 3mx squared plus 1 plus 6m times by x, right? Plus 0 is equal to 0. So that's your A for the quadratic, that's your B, and that's your C. So when the discriminant is equal to 0, that means that the b squared minus 4ac to be equal to 0. That means that 1 plus 6m and all of that squared minus 4 times by 3m times by 0 is equal to 0. That would leave you with 1 plus 6m squared is equal to 0, which means 1 plus 6m is equal to 0, which means m is equal to negative 1 over 6, same as the solution above. These would have been the best two possible ways of approaching that specific question.